What is going on, everybody? My name is Nico and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet raid guide video. We got the next 7-star raid announced and we are getting Inteleon and a 7-star raid with the Ice Tera Type. Now, this was far more difficult than I actually thought it was going to be. I'm not gonna lie. I spent hours this morning calcing a bunch of different Pokemon to figure out what was going to be the best possible Pokemon to bring to this particular raid, and I have 6 options here. Some are good for multiplayer, some are good for solo, and I want to talk about all of them. Now Inteleon's really tricky as an Ice Tera type because it's weak to rock, fire, fighting, and steel. All of these are pretty easily handled by Inteleon because Inteleon specifically has a lot of really good tools under its belt. We know for a fact that it's going to have its hidden ability Sniper. That is nothing to be surprised about, and Sniper, if this Pokemon strikes with a critical hit, will do 1.5 times damage. So there's really high chance that this is going to be a crit based Pokemon. So I've built some Pokemon that are built to handle that. Now, the main move that we are likely going to see on this Inteleon is Snipe Shot. Snipe Shot has a really high critical hit ratio and cannot be redirected. It is incredibly powerful with 80 base power and is going to do a lot of work. Plus, you get the water stab from Inteleon. It's going to do significant damage to the opposing Pokemon on the field. Other things that we're likely going to see on this, Ice Beam is one that's very likely that we see. Also, this Pokemon does get access to Air Slash, which is something we need to be aware of. But then in terms of like more support based moves, I think for sure we see Snowscape. Snowscape makes a lot of sense because with the Ice Tera typing with snow on the field, Inteleon is going to have 1.5 times defense. This is going to make it much more difficult for those physical attackers to do work against this Pokemon, and I think this is something we need to be aware of. Another thing that Inteleon does have access to is Double Team, which is something that you also should be slightly afraid of. Double Team will make this very difficult to hit and allow it to land even more crits against you. I wouldn't even put it past them to give this thing a scope lens and maybe make this critical hit accuracy even higher, which could be very problematic for Pokemon going into this raid. So with all these tools at Inteleon's disposal, I have come up with a lot of things that I feel are going to be very solid for dealing with this particular threat. It's also safe to assume that in these Inteleon raids, Inteleon is just going to have max special attack, which is what I've calced all these Pokemon for. So the first Pokemon that I want to talk about is Dreadnought. Dreadnought is actually going to be pretty solid into this particular raid, mainly because it has access to Shell Armor, which means it cannot be hit by critical hits. It makes it a very solid candidate for going into this particular raid, but also it has access to Rock Blast, which is going to do super effective damage into this Ice Inteleon. With a loaded dice, this is going to be incredibly powerful. Pair this with a Sword Stance, and then give yourself Gastro Acid. If you don't know what Gastro Acid does, it actually nullifies the target's ability, which makes it very solid for your teammates. This is more of just kind of help your teammates out at the start of the battle, lead with Gastro Acid, and then start Sword Dancing and go in for Rock Blasts. Going to put you in a really positive position. Then I'll just have Razor Shell on here for 50% chance to lower the target's defenses by 1. This is just if you want to option, it's not necessary. The EV spread is 252 HP, 4 attack, 252 special defense with a careful nature. So I have the damage calcs on here for this matchup against Inteleon, and you can see that Dreadnought with the Rock Blast is doing significant damage. This is with a +2 Sword Stance activated. If I go back to neutral without it, this is only if Rock Blast hits 3 times. However, we know with loaded dice, it's guaranteed to hit 4. So that is the damage calc right there on screen with the Rock Blast. Very significant amount of damage that you can see. But then if I add a +2 for Sword Stance, you're doing even crazier amounts of damage, and I think this is an incredibly powerful counter. Now, if I apply a -1 to Inteleon's defense, assuming that you hit it once with Razor Shell and got the defense drop, it's doing even more damage here. So, incredibly powerful option into this particular raid. The next Pokemon I want to talk about is Walking Wake. Walking Wake goes absolutely nuts here. I think it's going to be one of the best options for this particular raid. The Walking Wake that I have here is Snarl, Chilling Water, Sunny Day, Hydro Steam with Mystic Water. Very solid Pokemon to bring here. Plus, with the access to Sunny Day, you're going to get a special attack boost, which is absolutely crazy. It's going to make this Pokemon even bigger. Now, the reason this is so good is because it's a Water Dragon type. You are going to resist water type attacks ×4, which is crazy, but then you're also just going to be able to mitigate a lot of that extra damage with the Sunny Day and stuff. You're just avoiding a lot of damage here, and then you can lower the special attack of the opposing Inteleon with your Snarls and makes your Hydro Steams just do so much damage. You are going to just have a field day with this particular Pokemon with the Mystic Water especially. The EV spread is as follows: 252 HP, 252 special defense, and 4 special attack. You can see here with the damage calcs for this particular matchup, you are going to be doing a lot of work into this Inteleon, right? A significant amount of work. So right now I don't have the sun applied for this particular matchup, but you can see that Snipe Shot's only doing 17.1 to 20.3% of your health because of your resistances. This is with a crit applied. Without the crit, it's only doing 10% of your health at max. So with the crit applied, it is doing a little bit more, but not a significant amount of damage here, which is really, really nice. Then on top of this, you're going to be able to apply the sun, which is going to reduce that even further. So with the sun, Snipe Shot, even with the crit, is only going to do 10% of your health. But then your Hydro Steam is actually going to go from what it previously was at 82% at the max to 160% at the max. So this Pokemon is just going to do a crazy amount of work in this raid. And then if we apply maybe a couple Snarls here, you can see it just continues dropping. Just continues dropping. I just applied a boost. We don't want to boost. But like you just see, it just gets worse and worse for this Pokemon. The next Pokemon I have here on the list is Gastrodon. I think Gastrodon is very, very solid because of the Storm Drain ability. Storm Drain is going to allow you to soak up those water type attacks and not have to worry about Snipe Shot at all, which puts you in a really positive position against Inteleon. The ability shield is the item that I have here to avoid it from removing your Storm Drain ability later in the battle. And then I have the moveset of Mud Slap, Clear Smog, Earth Power, and Muddy Water here with a Water Tera type, because later in the match you can Tera into a water type and do even more damage with your Muddy Waters. EV spread is 252 HP, 252 special defense, and 4 special attack with a modest nature. So you can see here on the damage calc section that there is a significant amount of damage that this Pokemon can take, right? It does so much. And then this is with the Tera Water applied. If I take off the Tera Water, you're going to max out at about 60% damage with your Muddy Waters, with the chance of lowering the accuracy of the opposing Pokemon, which is really nice. But then if you apply the Water Tera typing, you're going to be doing even more damage here. Even more damage with your Muddy Waters. You're going to max out at 80%, and granted, you're not going to be the main attacker here. You're mainly there to set Mud Slaps and lower the accuracy of the opposing Pokemon. But then later in the battle, when you do get to the point where you want to Tera and help out the team, you have that ability, and you're able to do a lot of work. But the main thing here is you do have Clear Smog in case this Pokemon does have access to Double Team. It gives you that opportunity to handle it more effectively. The next Pokemon I have here is Samurott. Samurott, I think, is going to be incredibly good into this. For one, it gets access to Shell Armor just like Dreadnought does, so you are not taking damage from those critical hits. But then also you have access to strong fighting type attacks that are going to do a lot of work, and you have access to Focus Energy and Swords Dance. Now, you also have access to Knockoff. In the off chance they do give an item to Inteleon, likely the Scope Lens, you're able to just knock that item off and lower the crit chance on all the other moves for this Pokemon, which I think is incredibly solid here. If it doesn't have that, you can swap Knockoff for something else. So the set that I have is Scope Lens as the item here, Brick Break, Focus Energy, Swords Dance, and Knockoff with 252 HP, 4 attack, and then 252 special defense. Brick Break here, the idea is you just set up Focus Energy, get a Sword Stance up, and do big Brick Break damage. So the calcs you see on screen here are for if you're critting with Brick Break. This is without a Sword Stance buff, right? If you're just critting with your Brick Break, you're doing almost 100% damage to a standard Inteleon. However, if you go ahead and apply a Sword Stance, you're doing 200%. It gets crazy the amount of damage that you can do here, and I think this Pokemon's incredibly powerful for that reason. Actually, I have the wrong nature on here even. It has Adamant nature. So you're doing 106%, and then you're going to be doing 211% with the +2 Sword Stance. So absolutely crazy amounts of damage that you could do with this particular Pokemon. I think Samurott is a really solid option here, and you can see it's going to take 4 hits to KO you, and that's assuming your team is not doing things like cheering and things like that. So if with the defense cheer and stuff, this is going to be doing even less damage to you and make this even more manageable. The next Pokemon I have here is a support Blissey. This is not doing any attacking at all. This Blissey is strictly there to sit in front of this and take hits. Now, I don't think Blissey will be very good if this is a mixed attacker, but I have a hard time believing that Inteleon's going to be a mixed attacker because its move pool is fairly limited. So I foresee Blissey being very solid, if not just forego Blissey. But this has Heal Pulse, Sunny Day to avoid that extra water damage, which is incredibly nice. Then you have Helping Hand and Life Dew to just heal your team and allow your team to do extra damage. Put this next to a Dreadnought or a Walking Wake and Helping Hand them and just keep them alive. You're going to be doing so much work for your team. This is just an incredibly useful set here for this Blissey. With 252 HP, 252 special defense, and 4 defense, you're just going to be able to do so much work here with this Blissey and just supporting the team. You're there to be a cheer bot and be a helping hand heal bot, right? Super, super nice for a special attacking rate. So the calcs that you see on screen right now are just assuming that Inteleon does not have sun up. Like, you haven't set sunny day yet. It's going to be doing 30% of your health with snipe shot with the crit. However, if you apply sun, it's only going to be doing 15% of your health. So you're in a really strong position here to kind of just ignore Inteleon with this Pokemon and just continue to heal your team up. It is going to be incredibly solid here. The final Pokemon that I have on this list is Vaporeon. Now, this is more of a solo set. You can take it online, obviously, but you're going to have a tougher time getting set up to actually do what this does. So it is something to note, but this is just a stored power thing. We've seen this multiple times already. This obviously doesn't do special, well, it obviously doesn't do the bonus psychic type damage that you got from a lot of the other ones like Greninja and Cinderace. However, you can just do crazy amounts of damage with this setup. So the set that I have here is Ability Shield with Water Absorb, so you could ignore Snipe Shot altogether. Then you have Acid Armor, Calm Mind, Sunny Day, and Stored Power. So basically, you get out there, you set your Sunny Day if you're playing this online with friends. And then you're going to just spam Calm Mind 3 times, then spam Acid Armor 3 times, and then use Stored Power. That is basically how you play this. You need to use each of these 3 times, and then Stored Power. Now, if you wanted to be a bit more helpful to your teammates, you could throw Mud Slap on there and lower the accuracy of the Inteleon and just go for Calm Mind Stored Power. You're going to do a lot less damage, but you're going to be a lot more beneficial to your teammates out there. However, if you're doing this solo, I just recommend throwing Acid Armor on there and boosting yourself and doing lots of Stored Power damage. So you can see here the damage that you're going to be taking from Inteleon is negligible with this particular setup, and you're going to be able to do a lot of damage with Stored Power. Now, this is with 2 of the Acid Armors up as well as 3 of the Calm Mind. So this is the max, amount of damage that you're going to be able to be doing. However, it is significant. It is very, very powerful, right? And if you put this in the sun, it's going to remove any of those defense bonuses that it has for your teammates to do that much more damage if you are taking this particular build online. I would recommend Walking Wake or Dreadnought if you're going to be playing online more than this one, but this is an option for you. Now, very quickly, I want to talk about some other Pokemon that people might be considering using, but just shouldn't. Just don't bring these Pokemon. They just aren't going to do enough for the raid. You're going to drag your team down. The first up is going to be Iron Hands. I know a lot of people immediately see, Ice type. They're like, I'm going to Drain Punch this into next year. It's not good. You're going to waste a lot of time doing this, and you can see that Snipe Shot with a crit is going to knock you out in 2 hits. So you need to just not bring this Pokemon all around. Just ignore it altogether. Iron Hands, you're not going to have time to set up Belly Drum, and you're not going to have the opportunity to get a Swords Dance up before this knocks you out. It's just not that good into this particular raid. The next one I want to talk about is King Gambit. You can see here, Snipe Shot with a crit does crazy amounts of damage to King Gambit. You're just not taking hits all that well from this, right? You have access to Snarl, you have access to this, that, the other. It's just not going to do enough for your team. You're just going to get wiped too quickly before this can get set up to actually do anything. So this is not a Pokemon I'd recommend bringing to this raid. The final one is one I actually looked at as a potential counter before I realized that Inteleon had Air Slash, and that's Toxicroak. Toxicroak with Dry Skin I thought was going to be really good because you could just avoid Snipe Shot. However, you can see that like Ice Beam still does crazy amounts of damage to you, but then Air Slash is doing a significant amount of damage to you, even with max HP and max special defense. Toxicroak's just not worth it here. I would recommend bringing one of the other ones that I've talked about in this video. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. I will do an update video if I need to when this drops, because I really think a lot of these are going to be solid. I'll probably do an update video regardless, just to talk about maybe some tweaks and changes that might be necessary. No, I can't talk. Necessary for this particular raid once we know the final moveset. But I think these are going to be really solid and give you a lot of options playing into this particular raid den event. Let me know in the comments below what one you would consider using the most. But that is going to be it. Like I said, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Check out the Discord where people over there hanging out, doing the raids all the time. And finally, check out any of these other VGC videos on screen here. But until next time, peace.